What is going on, everyone? Thank you for coming back. Today we've got an awesome guest. This is Stefania from Casapio, who's also going to be one of the speakers at NFT Expoverse at the end of this month out in LA. We are fortunate to have her on to talk about some of the stuff that has to do with really like what does Web3 and NFTs and stuff have to do for fashion, and really kind of exploring what the impacts can be beyond just these kind of like luxury good items, but what more can we do? So without further ado, would love to bring on Steffi. Hello, how are you?
Hi, I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for joining and being on today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on the show. I love your studio. It's so
Ah,
cool.
thank you. Yeah, a lot of effort has gone into, which is also kind of amazing, like what you can achieve with just some like some of the like lights, right? Because if I turn all the lights on, it's way less impressive. So it's the fact that it's in the dark that adds to it, right? But look, I appreciate you coming on. This is a really interesting topic. Around the impacts of Web3, on fashion, is something that I think is being, kind of explored in the market currently, with some of the luxury brands. But, I'm curious to kind of dig in and see, what your thoughts on it are, and really kind of where the future of fashion and the, metaverse and Web3 and NFTs is going. But to start with, I'd love, kind of an introduction to you, like what you've been doing in the space and your background.
Well, that's interesting. So my background is oh, let's start at the beginning. I was a model, right? I was
Hmm.
doing all this fancy catwalk when I was very young, and I had love for passion, for fashion, and all these kind of things. Italian by background, and then obviously your parents they tell you you need to do something meaningful in life that is not fashion. So go get a degree, get a master degree, start to work in finance, and yeah, and then I got into crypto. That was 2017, and it was an interesting point because when all the token there were, there was the big ICO boom. I start to kind of see the value that actually blockchain could have brought to luxury brand,
Hmm.
in terms of like authentication, but also in terms of like loyalty points, discounts, and stuff like that. And that
Right.
was at that time. And I started to work on that. And that lead up to 2020 when we saw the big NFT boom. And yeah, this is when I was able actually to put these things in practice.
Hmm.
So let's say my background is kind of like a mix. I actually have a degree in TV production. I'm an ex-model. I worked for 10 years in finance, then I got into crypto, and I finally been able to merge my passion for fashion with technology, which is also something that is at my heart as well.
That's incredible. I mean, it's so good to. I always find it so fortunate when people are able to find a place where you can apply your passion, right? That you've also had some background with like a business idea or what's going on in the market right now. From and I'm curious to ask, and maybe put you on the spot a little bit, but like what's been some of the coolest applications that you've seen of like Web3 applied to fashions, or what's been some that you've seen come out where you're like, oh wow, that is very interesting.
I think a personalization of the item is something that I think is very cool
Hmm.
because I mean, that I would say for myself, when I buy stuff, I don't want to buy stuff that everybody has got. I always try to buy something that is different. And obviously, the element of personalization is very important to
Hmm.
everybody that loves fashion. And I think being able, for instance, what Dolce Gabbana did, the drop. So you can get an NFT at the same time, you can get a personalized physical version of that NFT dress or whatever.
Hmm.
So I think the personalization is very cool. And the same Dolce Gabbana is having some great plans about only NFT holders can get some special merch that is going to be done on, only for them. But also application in terms of like strengthening the community. And I
Hmm.
think this is what fashion brand are really interested in is like fashion is something that is an industry that is so old, it was very much focused on the core tradition, and it's quite interesting that actually was one of the main industry that was disrupted by fashion, but by blockchain. But what basically is important for fashion to stay relevant and also to evolve is integrating this community, is strengthening the community and the user base. The client base that is completely changing because, 20 years ago, you had different kind of clients than what you have right now. And definitely gamification of lives, metaverse is what all the new generation is interested in. So I think with the NFTs, actually this was a cool element that NFT brought to fashion, an ability to bring the community together, give in a way a little bit more power to the community, and also offering all this kind of different experience. So you can participate at some specific events that if you don't have an NFT you won't be able to participate. The things that I feel a little bit bored is like this VR, dressing, putting your clothing on Instagram and all this kind of thing. I think they are a little bit, I don't know,
Not quite
overrated.
it.
No, exactly. I'm not about that. I think there are more meaningful ways that blockchain is helping fashion brand, and I think we have seen more of that in the NFT space. For what regards authentication, which I think is very interesting, and this is where blockchain can really help providing product ID. I think we haven't seen really some strong application. And I'm working with something very interesting with the team at IOHK on product ID, and I hope that I can share more very soon on that. But that's definitely an area that blockchain can help a lot. Fashion and all the luxury industry, not just ready to wear or handbags, but could be luxury watches, diamonds,
Mm-hmm.
call it so many things that can really gain value from being authenticated on a blockchain and have a digital identity. And here we come maybe to the next things that we could talk about, a digital identity with verified credentials.
That's interesting, right? And I mean, so you mentioned on one point earlier that I do think is extremely extremely strong. It's very good
Yeah.
insight, right? Is that I think I typed it to quote it, right enough to quote, but like how important it is for for the fashion industry to stay relative, right, and stay relative to the community. I feel like that's always what it's about, and I feel like sometimes the perception can be that the community follows the communities that follows the fashion, but it's really a two-way street. It's just as important for these brands to stay, downwardly regulated to their market by, and I think you said it, like bringing the community together, giving more power back to the community, right, and offering these new experiences are all ways that they're kind of leveraging it.
Engage in it as well, because this the clients they have right now, they won't be the clients they are going to have in 10 years
Mm-hmm.
or in 20 years. Those will be the kids, they are stuck on the game. Those will be different kind of clients. They need to be engaged in different ways, that the way that fashion is used to engage with people. So we are
Mm-hmm.
going to see some really cool stuff that fashion brand have to invent to stay relevant, to
Mm-hmm.
survive. And this is an imperative. That's why you see so many brands, they are test to learn, they
Mm-hmm.
are experimenting, because otherwise they are going to die. They
Yeah.
might stay, as a brand, but they won't be a leading brand of the future
Mm-hmm.
because they are not going to be relevant to the time that we are living in.
Right. And so I find that interesting too, because you mentioned that. So when you say the idea that like the VR dressing and some of that is it's kind of played out. It's not really there. I mean, what are your thoughts on the idea of like digital fashion, right? So I know that like Gucci and some of them have these luxury goods that are digital only that you can buy for your avatar, and that like there, you know, there's this idea that the future and future generations will be more worried about the goods that their digital online avatar can wear and own and represent the expression of themselves. They're more concerned with that than they are of like if they can actually wear, right? Like I would rather pay X amount for my digital avatar to have a Gucci hoodie rather than me actually have one in real life, which is pretty compelling. I mean, what are your thoughts
Yeah,
around that kind of movement?
that's interesting. I would prefer a real hoodie though. But yeah, I think if we give for granted that our lives is going to be more and more online, and that is going to happen because there will be different kinds of technology that allows us to work more online. I mean, okay, we are on an online call right now, but it's still the Zoom call, the virtual call are still clumsy, right? Sometimes connection is wrong. Sometimes, you know, it's a little bit like not so smooth like it should be. So I think as new way to kind of like interact and socialize in the virtual world are going to play out, and that will happen a lot obviously in the metaverse, then you need to express your identity in this kind of new settings. So you will need to accessorize yourself. I want to be dressed fancy like I am if I'm gonna go out dating a guy. Am I gonna be dating in the metaverse, or am I gonna go out for dinner? I will be excited at the same way that I'm excited if I'm gonna go out in the real world. So yes, then your digital assets, your handbag, your shoes, your cape, those are going to be very valuable because it's part of who you are. So I don't think I wouldn't get too excited about Instagram filters and, you know, these kind of things. I'm not really. Yeah, I think it is something that was already gone. It's like the influencer old model, when you have got this celebrity becoming, you know, be the influencer for a brand just because they are famous and everybody's going to follow what they do. This model is dead. Now the community is going to take over that, and there will be more democratization of who can be an influencer because his value more respect the brand. So probably some disruption in this influencing model is going to happen, as is going to happen in social media. So, and I'm really looking forward to see it because, you know, if you think about it, let's say you love, I don't know, let's pick up a brand without being controversial. You love Prada, okay. And you see that, you know, a famous footballer or something is just going to be paid loads of money and getting all the merch for free just because he's putting his face, and maybe doesn't even care and he doesn't like what Prada is advertising, right? Do you think that's fair? I don't think so. I mean, seriously. And maybe you love more Prada, what they do. You have been a customer for so long time, you spend so much money on that. Why you don't have the opportunity to become an influencer?
That's a very good point. I don't know.
So maybe it will be a different model where actually, if you engage with the brand, if you have been a loyal customers, you know, these doors are going to be open to anybody in the community, not just because you have got, you know, you have done a couple of movies, or you are, you know, you are part of a famous team. I think it will be more genuine, and that's good.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, so it's this idea of creating new engagement channels with your community to actually find ways to like sponsor the people who are legitimately the customers, right?
Exactly. And those are the people that has to be engaged. Because if I'm a loyal customer of a brand, I want to get engaged. I love it. I'm paying for it.
Yeah.
And why the brand has to pay a random woman that maybe, you know, she doesn't even care about that, and she's an influencer of so many brands. She get the free stuff, and then she resell them on Vestiaire Collective. You know, I will buy them from her.
Right. Yeah, no, it's a good point, right? And it's something that, like, I mean, that you bring it up. I don't know if I've ever even thought about it, just because it's never even seemed like something possible. Like it's never even seemed that I could be, but like I do have very like strong brand loyalty to like certain products, and the fact that some random person influencer, because they have X number of followers, gets it, and they have zero brand affiliation or loyalty.
Exactly.
Yeah, they just get it because the only reason they own it is because it was free.
They get it for free
Yeah.
when you don't even have access to, you might don't even get the 10% discount, but
Right.
maybe you do, but why just get him for free and you have to pay 90% of the price?
Right. No, that's fair. I mean, so do you see? So that future, right, that we're painting of this idea of this engagement, closer engagement, enabling your customers to be ambassadors or influencers at a scale. I mean, is any of that possible like without Web3? I mean, do you see anyone being able to do that just normally, or is it something that brands are like? Mm,
I think it becomes difficult without Web3 because you need ways to kind of like interact, engage with, with customer and the brand. And, how do you engage in real life? Only when you buy in shop. But if
mm-hmm.
you create a different kind of experiences, different settings where, you are going to get rewarded to actually promoting the brand.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, promoting like in the digital space in some
Exactly,
to
the
some degree.
digital space. And the digital space is going to be more democratic than what is the current space. So I think that is an interesting area that maybe we haven't seen many use case yet, but I'm really hoping to see something interesting coming out of the evolution of Web3, and how,
Mm-hmm.
because it's interesting. Now we are in a bear market, so lots of projects are building, right?
Yeah.
So we will have to see what is going to be the next thing to be built, and that is going to be, you know, the big
Mm-hmm.
summer of 2024.
Right. Yeah, and that's, I mean, it kind of like brings up another point in my mind, right? Is that as we think about, as soon as you start to like really, um, how do I want to say it? Not like democratize your customer base, or like empower your customer base, like democratize opportunity from your customer base. You start to create all of these new opportunities, right? That I don't think a lot of people are thinking about, and or even like even know of yet. I mean, you mentioned a lot of people are building right now. Like, who knows who's? I mean, who knows what's going to be around in the next year, right? So it's an interesting thing to think about. But on the brand side too, I think the topic that doesn't get talked about enough is that we say Web3, we say fashion, and it's always Gucci, Prada, like these very luxury brands. But like, is there opportunity for like non-luxury brands, like I don't know, like Levi jeans, right, or like Gap clothes, or just like like mass produced fashion areas?
I think there is. It all depends on the utility and the new experience they're going to create. So
Mm-hmm.
if you are able to come out with some innovative ideas and make your community really strong and loyal to you, definitely there is an opportunity. So it is basically all focus on, if you're doing NFTs, what is the utility that you are bringing, right? And how
Mm-hmm.
strong is your community?
Right.
I think it's all about that.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, and that's that makes sense, because I've talked to a few people like in the industry, or not really in. No, I take that back. They're not really in the industry at all. But it always, the common theme that I hear is that it's like, oh, Web3 for fashion. It's like, well, that's just for Rolex, and that's just for
No,
the high end.
absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely no. I mean, there are so many projects they are actually launching, or they have launched, and they are looking at different things, different aspects. Fashion is a big is a big topic. There are
Mm-hmm.
many things that you can break it down. There is the resale market, there is the avatars, there is the concept of identity.
Mm-hmm.
There is not just digital clothing,
Right.
and
Right. Right.
fashion is much more than that. So I mean, nobody has really create fashion district in the metaverse
Sure.
with
Yeah.
different kind of shops that you can buy this stuff, the Gucci, Prada, blah blah they are creating. Okay,
Yeah.
so if you want to buy them, you have to go on the website, on the, you need to sign for the drop, whatever, or go on specific marketplace and try to find those stuff. But if there is actually a fashion district in the metaverse with shops, they sell those things. And if if I want to buy something, I can go there and like as a proper shop.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That would be cool. And there isn't
Right, a
now.
way to do that. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so I think there are lots of opportunity for many creators, many brands to think about what is my what utility, what I'm problem I'm solving. I mean, you mentioned Levi, and there is a lot of things about jeans and sustainability and stuff like that. Why not using a Web3 solution to bring that from the real world and give an upside in the digital world and
Mm-hmm.
create a campaign around that? I think Levi could do that, for instance.
Yeah, yeah. And so when you talk about the sustainability side, it's something you had brought up earlier because I think this starts to like blend into some of like the supply chain, but you also had mentioned, authentication for product ID and like how are you able to authenticate, I can talk, goods using Web3. I mean, is there a future in your mind where maybe not every piece, but just largely almost all clothing or apparel has either a digital twin or some way to verify it on chain?
Yeah, I think that is probably going to be the next big thing to say is going to be identity. So the way that an NFT can add value is becoming that digital twin that verify the physical item
Mm-hmm.
in a way that it will include the credential of the item as well.
Right, right.
So I mean, we see there are a lot of like fake NFTs around, and it's not easy for everybody to kind of go down, track the wallet, and see, oh, that is alleged, that is not alleged. Not everybody is crypto savvy, right?
Sure.
So I think the ability to kind of strengthen this link between physical and digital to a different kind of incorporating this. I have to be careful what I say because I said that I can't talk, but
Yeah, yeah.
well, I think yes, is the digital twin and the physical, they link together in a way that is um, it doesn't give any room for doubt. So
Mm-hmm.
they are fully linked, and that way you can verify some important item in the real world. You can verify them through the digital twin.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. 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 And that whole idea of like, even when I start to think from like a market economics like standpoint, like I think the fascinating area, especially moving into the future from like the next wave of adoption from people in the Web3 is understanding is that association of the digital twin, right? Because those that don't understand, I think, digital goods right now, a great way for them to grasp the concept is to get the physical item with it, right? They understand now mentally that they're purchasing, they're getting a good, but they also get the digital good that goes with it.
Exactly. And as they get the digital good, they get kind of like the verification, authentication of the physical, but they also get extra,
Yeah.
which is all the utility, all the experiences that digital assets can unlock in the virtual world.
Yep.
So I think this is where we are. The digital assets is not just the digital twin that authenticate, but also gives you extras.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
at the end of the day, you can say no. I mean, I wouldn't say no to physical. You're still going to get the physical because that's
Right.
part of what, the brand will be offering, but the brand offering will be different. So we are used to have a brand that sells something that we can touch, we can eat, we can wear, whatever. Where as our lives are moving more online, their product offering is going to change, and they're going to offer different things. Then we can also consume and interact in the metaverse or in the virtual world. Call it whatever you want.
Right, right. And that even that whole like act of like consuming becomes different because it's not really consuming, it's becoming part of an engagement experience
It,
beyond just wearing, right? You're part of the community, you can interact, you can go to events, you can go to digital events, you can get access to new drops earlier, so yada yada yada. There's so much more there. And like I find it interesting, the really interesting part too though, that I find like kind of an interesting, I don't know if like problem set is the word for it, but for digital assets as it relates to fashion is that, I feel like a lot of luxury goods, their value is derived from the scarcity, right? That
yeah.
there's not a lot produced, and that physical items are not designed to break down, but like they do wear out over time and with age. But digital assets don't change. So if I buy a Gucci purse in the metaverse, like it's never going to degrade, it's never going to go away. So like, does that produce some issue with the scarcity model that luxury brands implement to drive high prices at all? Or is there some world where it could potentially, like digital goods, so digital representations of luxury goods could become oversaturated to the point that they actually start to drive down value?
That's an interesting point. I think there is always the opportunity that you can burn
Yeah,
a digital asset. So I
true.
think that's something to keep in consideration. And there are different ways that perhaps you can see that. So let's say you buy something and then that things is going to get robbed or is going to get destroyed because you have the digital twin. Maybe in a certain
Hmm.
window you can claim it back another one or get your repaired or
Right.
wherever the other things could be. There was an interesting conversation that I was having actually at the COGX conference in London. It was about brand credibility with
Hmm.
NFT. And that was very interesting because think about it. If there is a group of people that wants to drive down the price of some handbags from Gucci, the virtual, I'm saying NFTs, right?
Right.
They start to sell those on the secondary market for nothing.
Hmm.
That price, obviously, the brand is going to be impacted.
Hmm.
And that there is nothing that the brand can do because we are in a secondary market. It's like shares, right? If
Yep.
everybody start to sell Nike shares, then that's it. The price is going to drop and there is not much you can do it. But it's an interesting point because then you might see that NFTs for a brand, they are going to be worth really little. And that was like something that the community decide and the
Yeah.
brand just have to take it as a fact.
Right. Yeah, which is, I mean, in that ability to put the power, a very cliche statement, but the power back to the people
Yeah.
is,
Yeah, there
is,
are risks. There are risks.
yeah, of course. I mean, so and I know that we're like bumping up on time now, but I appreciate your time to chat. I mean, so one last question is that if you are a large brand, right, a large fashion brand, and you're thinking about moving into the metaverse, like, is there any things that you would tell them to think about first or to consider, or like words of wisdom you might want to pass on?
Well, I would just say just to have a strategy.
Yeah.
Just it's good, as I said, to experiment, to do some tests, but I think we are not here. I mean, brand shouldn't be here just for the money.
Yeah.
It's not just follow the money and see what hot and just get in. I think a brand they are gonna it's not the brand they want to survive. It's more brand they want to survive and need to have a sustainable strategy
Hmm.
where they are trying to kind of like evolve but also understand what is going to be their ultimate goal. So that means if you are planning a drop, the way I see it, it shouldn't be just a drop finalized to itself.
Hmm. Hmm.
What is this drop part of what?
Yeah.
What you are trying to build? What is the ultimate goal that you are trying to do going into NFTs? And I kind of respect the brand they haven't started to go into NFTs immediately, but they took their time to think about it and they put together a strategy that makes sense. So, and there are big things that brands should look into. I mean, we said the secondary market and the problem about authentication. That's important, and that's a problem to be solved.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to do something in Web3 to solve that problem? Okay, that makes sense. But that you have got a strategy, you have got a goal.
Yep.
Do you want to strengthen more your community? Give power to our community, empowering, giving different kind of ability to wear your items or experience the brand, but having that kind of personalization, for example, be more engaged. Okay, your goal is to engage with the community. Fine. So then you're going to start to get into NFT with that goal. I think this is kind of like the thinking that every brand should do before entering any kind of Web3 application, because it's not just okay, let's do a drop, couple of hoodies, who sell most, that's it.
Yeah.
That I think for me that's really ridiculous, and it's not it doesn't even look good for the brand. The other things that a brand should consider is also sustainability in terms of like blockchain they are using.
Sure.
Because one of the things that strikes me a lot is that a company like a group company like Caring that is so concerned about sustainability and stuff like that, then Gucci drop stuff on Ethereum, right?
Yeah.
And what's that? I mean, okay, you want to be exclusive, you want people to pay at the time high gas fee. Now probably they're not so high, but why are you doing that? I don't understand it. So I think this kind of like things, they look strange. Those are things that haven't been thought through, they haven't been addressed before. You should consider what is the technical partner, what is the blockchain that I want to deploy, and why. And you do that now, then in 5 years there might be a better solution. But each decision should be thought properly, rather than just okay, let's go in, let's be cool.
Right. Yeah.
You're not going to be left behind. I mean, every brand should have an innovation team. That's another thing.
Yeah.
So think about a strategy long term and what problem you're trying to solve, how you want to evolve your brand. Think about the blockchain, the technical part that you are going to be working on, and think about the sustainability element. These are all so important things. And I think sometimes and have an innovation team.
Have an
people
innovation
that
team.
advise you, because this is not an easy space, and there is a lot of education. You said at the beginning of the podcast, we are trying to educate. So if you don't have in your company the people that understand what technology is, how you can drive the brand forward, and then it's just strange sometimes when you see just brand just bumping in and hey, we are here as well,
trying to make some quick cash or something.
Exactly.
Not really thinking about it.
That's not good.
I hear you. Well, look, thank you so much for the time today. This was incredibly insightful. Definitely some stuff to think about. The big one being around the community stuff and engagement, and then really the ideas that these brands should be thinking about for going in, because it's so easy to just FOMO your way in and make a lot of bad decisions, and then get, it's hard to recover from some of that. So this was really, really good. But thank you so much for your time. Look forward to seeing you at NFT Expoverse at the end of July. And if anyone wants to follow you, to see more, like, you have a YouTube, Twitter, anything that people can keep up with you on?
Yeah, sure. Just Twitter, I'm at Stefixi with a Y at the end. And I have a YouTube channel where I talk investing, crypto, some interesting interviews. So, if you want to check it out, it's called Financial Fox. And Cory, thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to see everybody in Los Angeles. It's going to be cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And that was Steph from Casapia Media. So again, she will be at NFT Expoverse, coming to talk more on fashion and what you can be doing to more responsibly move in. And I think that whole idea of finding ways beyond just like what the market has done with like luxury goods stuff, but it's, you know, what other ways, whether that's those ideas of like really building and engaging the community. And it's so important to fashion to stay relative back to your community, because that's really how you grow your base, is really, really good insight and stuff that I really haven't really thought about that much. But with that, if you were entertained and enjoyed the conversation, make sure you subscribe below, and we will have some more conversations out soon. And with that, let's run the outro.